$99.98. New Zealand-made kids swing and slide set, just $229.99. Parkland's trampoline with safety pads, only $399.99 each. Plus Attitude 24 or 26-inch MTB bikes from only $529.99 each.
Get to the warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain.
There's a money back guarantee.
I say that they care. When it comes to music, they care. Sometimes they care till 2, 3 in the morning.
I was hoping for a kind of a booge.
Badoosh.
And a booge.
What about like a doof? Like,
Kind of booge.
boosh. Okay, just push this. Give us one, Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that was good.
Okay. All right.
Welcome back, everyone. This morning's terrorist attacks were carefully aimed at two of America's most strategic targets, its economic and its military headquarters. The first plane crashed into one of the twin towers of the World Trade Center at 12:45 a.m. New Zealand time, and it set off a sequence of events that have rocked the United States to the core.
Two of the hijacked planes were American Airlines jets. Flight 11 from Boston to Los Angeles with 92 people on board, and Flight 77 from Washington to LA with 64 people. At 8:50, just before 12:45 a.m. here, as workers were arriving for a day at the World Trade Center, one of the hijacked planes crashed into the World Trade Building. At 9:08, the other plane crashed into the tower, causing an inferno. At 9:30, yet another plane crashed, this time at the Pentagon in Washington, the nerve center of the American military establishment. 15 minutes later, the White House was evacuated. At 9:59, an hour after the first plane hit the Trade Center, one of its towers collapsed. At 10:25, over an hour and a half after the initial attack, a car bomb exploded outside the State Department. 3 minutes later, the second tower at the World Trade Center also collapsed. The center has towered over New York for decades. It imploded, showering one of the world's most populated cities with smoke and debris. In the aftermath of the attack, the Federal Aviation Authority closed down the whole U.S. air transport system. But by then, it was too late. Ingrid Leary, 3 News.
It was a day of intense emotion for New Yorkers. Mayor Rudolph Giuliani congratulated his city for its response, but it'll be a long time before the residents of the Big Apple deal with what they saw and experienced today.
As the upper floors of the Trade Center towers burned, inside, employees scrambled to escape.
For the 82nd floor, and I don't know what my peers are. I don't know. I hope to God they're okay. That's all I can say. I don't know what. We saw a shadow. It looked like a plane. Next thing we know, it was boom, and the floor started shaking. And then we saw debris fall down, and next thing we know, we had to get out of the building. We stuck on the stairs for a while. We finally got down to the lobby. Then we get to the lobby, there's this big explosion.
On the street, New Yorkers looked up and watched in horror.
And then we saw the people jumping. We saw what we thought was debris, and we realized it was people jumping.
I started seeing people they started jumping out of the window, like the 96th floor. They just started, one at a time, in different parts of the building. I just started seeing people just drop. And I must have counted like 30 or 40 people, you know.
Rescue workers raced to the scene, but then, some 90 minutes after the attack,
Oh my God, there it goes!
soot and rubble were everywhere, and with it, chaos.
Get out of here!
What scared me the most was the panic, and people were running, and you just saw this great big cloud of dust just coming from the center of the building and mushrooming out towards the river. There was, people had no place to go. People were going to jump in the river. They were going to swim. They were jumping on a boat. They were breaking glass to get into nearby homes and restaurants.
You okay, officer?
Firefighters and police officers found themselves momentarily helpless. Trained to save others, they suddenly had to save themselves.
The war, we've been attacked. It's like World War II. World War III. It's unbelievable.
Tonight, crews are standing by to start searching for the thousands of people feared missing in the debris.
Well, imagine a clear blue New York sky, one of the most famous buildings in the world, and then from nowhere, at great speed, a plane that had become a missile. The following defining shot is not the work of a big network operator, but that of a freelance cameraman standing directly beneath the World Trade Center.
In a day filled with images we may never forget, this one stands out. The extraordinary footage of an American Airlines jet slicing through the number 2 tower of the World Trade Center. That image was captured by 40-year-old freelance cameraman Evan Fairbanks, who had been working 2 blocks away.
I suddenly saw a white flash from the left side of the frame, and it lasted long enough for me to be able to identify it as a jet.
When you saw that plane hitting the Trade Center tower, could you actually fathom what you were viewing?
Not at all. It was very surreal. I felt like I was in another dimension, and we weren't even on the same planet. I guess as the human stories start to emerge, and we see more people and we hear more names, it'll become a lot more real to me. But right now, I feel like I'm still in the bubble of the day, and the whole experience is just kind of numbing.
Fairbanks has been a cameraman for 16 years, but today he wasn't operating on experience. It was instinct. And that's what drew him back for one last shot. That's when the tower began to collapse.
I was looking in the viewfinder, and I just saw this reverse mushroom cloud billowing down, and I realized my proximity, and immediately just turned and started running north.
But for Evan Fairbanks, this is the image that will haunt him and us for the rest of our lives.
The image of that plane just coming out of nowhere, coming into the frame, and disappearing into the south side of the tower, as if a floor had been hollowed out and it was a hangar that it was just landing in. We've seen these images in movies, and we know that it's all artificial, and Hollywood makes it. And it's hard to put together that it's real this time.
Well, ITN's reporter in Washington is James Mates. He was just a few blocks from the Pentagon when the plane hit there. I spoke to him earlier. Very much under discussion in Washington, the issue of how a $30 billion security intelligence system, that's 70 billion New Zealand dollars, which is supposed to prevent such things from happening, didn't even provide a warning.
Indeed, John, a catastrophic failure of intelligence, of that there is no doubt. People are holding back from recriminating or pointing fingers at this stage because of the enormity of what's happened today. But very, very serious questions will have to be answered. It is believed that Osama bin Laden and his terrorist group based in Afghanistan were behind this. The United States intelligence services are well aware of what he's done in the past, well aware of what he's tried but failed to do. It can only be assumed that a very large part of their anti-terrorist resources were directed against him and his operatives, and yet there appears to have been absolutely no warning, hint or indication of something of this scale. The simultaneous hijacking from different airports of 4 airliners, and then the targeting of these high-profile buildings. It's the worst failure in U.S. intelligence, obviously, since Pearl Harbor.
James, obviously people want to finger the person who's responsible or the group who's responsible, and the finger does seem to be pointing at Osama bin Laden. How confident are sources in Washington that he is the man, or is that just the natural inclination to blame someone?
Well, very much everybody's finger is pointing in his direction. How much of that is a desire simply to blame someone, it's hard to say. But of course, this is a man who's threatened to do exactly this, who's tried to carry out these sort of attacks, particularly against airliners before, but has failed, who has already attacked the World Trade Center before.
whose attack made with similar suicide bomb type attacks against the embassy.